18th century audiences would have understood this painting immediately. They would have seen the broken eggs on the floor, looked at the young woman sitting beside them, looked at the young man being scolded by the old woman, and they would have known exactly what happened. And some of them, according to the accounts of the time, would have found it funny. Because this painting is not really about eggs. It never was. The eggs are a metaphor, and what they stand for is something this young woman has just lost and will never get back. This is Broken Eggs, painted by Jean-Baptiste Greuze in 1756. It's a masterpiece of hidden meaning, disguised as simple domestic scene, and it tells you everything you need to know about how 18th century France talked about sex without ever saying the word. Let's look at what we see. A dimly lit room, bare timber beams overhead, plain plaster walls, a wooden table with a cloth and a few humble objects. This is not a wealthy household. It's a servant's quarters, modest and sparse, the kind of interior you would find in a Dutch genre painting from the century before. And that's no accident. Greuze studied 17th century Dutch painting obsessively and borrowed heavily from its visual language. In the center of the scene sits a young woman on the floor. Her posture is heavy with dejection. Her hands rest on her lap, fingers loosely clasped. Her head is tilted downward, eyes cast to the side. She wears a white dress over a blue skirt, the neckline open just enough to draw your eye. A blue ribbon ties back her hair. She's beautiful in the soft flush way that Greuze loved to paint his women. Rosy cheeks, parted lips, skin like porcelain. But there is no joy in her expression, only shame. Or maybe resignation. The look of someone processing something that has already happened and cannot be undone. Near her, a wicker basket has tipped over, spilling eggs onto the floor. Eggs, several of them, cracked, their contents running out onto the ground. A straw hat sits among the mess. A few intact eggs remain, scattered and fragile. The title refers to this moment. The eggs were brought from the market. They have been broken, and they cannot be put back together. To the right of the young woman stands two figures. A young man dressed in a red vest and a lavender cloak. He raises his hat in one hand, an awkward gesture that makes him look guilty or embarrassed. He doesn't look at the girl. He looks at the old woman beside him, her mother, or perhaps the household matriarch. She holds his hand firmly, as if stopping him from slipping away from the consequences. Her face tight with fury. She knows. She knows what he did, and she is furious, not just about the eggs. And then, in the lower right corner, almost hidden by a barrel, crouches a small child. A boy with golden curls, no more than 4 or 5 years old. He leans on a tiny bow and arrow, and in his hands he holds one of the broken eggs, trying to press the shell back together, trying to fix what cannot be fixed. Now, if you take the painting at a face value, as Greuze himself presented it at the Salon of 1757 with its long official title, A Mother Scolding a Young Man for Having Overturned a Basket of Eggs That Her Servant Brought from the Market, a Child Attempts to Repair a Broken Egg. It reads as a simple domestic accident. A clumsy young man knocked over a basket. An old woman is angry about wasted food. A child plays in the corner, nothing more. But 18th century Parisian audiences were fluent in visual metaphor, and the language of this painting is unmistakable. Broken eggs in French art and literature of the period symbolize the loss of virginity. The young woman on the floor is not grieving over poultry. She is grieving over what has happened between her and the young man standing above her. The basket, her virtue, has been overturned. The eggs, her innocence, are broken. And the child with the bow and arrow, that's Cupid, a miniature god of love, helplessly trying to reassemble what desire has destroyed. Even the composition reinforces the reading. The woman's open neckline, the looseness of all her clothing, the way she sits on the ground rather than standing, all of it suggests a fall, a descent from her prior state. The old woman's anger is not about market goods, it's about the ruin of a girl under her care. And the young man's awkward posture, guilty, but not devastated, tells you that for him, this moment carries a very different weight. he will walk away. She will not. Rose was not the first painter to use this metaphor. He drew directly from a 17th century Dutch painting by Frans van Mieris, the elder, called The Broken Egg, which he knew through engravings. But he took the idea further. He loaded it with theatrical emotion, staged it like a scene from a play, and turned a quiet genre painting into a moral drama. This was his gift and his obsession. He would spend his entire career painting scenes exactly like this. Ordinary people caught in moments of moral crisis, their faces registering emotions that viewers could read like sentences in a novel. Jean-Baptiste Grose was born 1725 in Tournoux, a small town in Burgundy. He studied in Lyon before moving to Paris, where he entered the Royal Academy. His first major success came at the Salon of 1755 with a painting called Father Reading Bible to His Children, a sentimental, moralistic scene that audiences adored. He traveled to Italy in 1755, and it was in Rome that he painted Broken Eggs. Though the setting and costumes suggest an Italian influence filtered through Dutch precedent. When he exhibited at the Salon of 1757, the response was extraordinary. One critic declared that the pose of the young servant girl was worthy of the brush of a history painter. The highest possible compliment in an era when history painting was considered the supreme genre, and everyday domestic scenes were ranked near the bottom. Grose had done something remarkable. He had taken the lowest form of painting and filled it with the emotional gravity of the highest. His most powerful champion was Denis Diderot, the great philosopher, encyclopedist, and art critic of the French Enlightenment. Diderot called Grose the painter of virtue, the rescuer of corrupted morality. He saw in Grose domestic dramas a corrective to the perfumed frivolity of Rococo painting. All those rosy cherubs and aristocratic picnics that Diderot viewed as symptoms of a decadent society. Grose, in his eyes, was painting real life, real consequences, real emotion. And there's a delicious irony buried in this admiration. Diderot's own personal life was anything but virtuous. He was a serial philanderer, and one of his former mistresses was a woman named Anne Gabrielle Babouti, who eventually married Jean-Baptiste Grose himself. Today, Broken Eggs hangs in the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York, where it's been since 1920. Most people who walk past it see a charming genre scene, a girl on the floor, a spilled basket, a scolding grandmother. But the painting is asking you to look harder, to read the faces, the objects, the gestures, to understand that in the 18th century, a broken egg was never just a broken egg. And a young woman sitting on the floor with her head down was telling you a story that polite society could not say out loud. I'd love to know whether you read this painting differently now that you know its hidden meaning. And if you noticed any other detail I didn't mention, tell me in the comments. This painting is full of them. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.